Somewhere in Britain in 1975, a child stood in the kitchen doorway and watched their mother lift a whisk out of a bowl, and the bowl was full of something bright pink and impossibly light, and that child felt a happiness so complete that a grown adult can still summon it 50 years later. 8 foods. That is what a British family ate through the 1970s. Foods that seemed as permanent as the kitchen table, and yet most of them have quietly slipped away, off the shelves and off the plates and out of the shops, until a whole generation is left trying to describe them to children who have never seen them. And by the time we reach the last one, you're going to remember a taste that actually crackled and popped on your tongue, a sweet that fizzed like nothing before or since. Number 1. Angel Delight. It was invented in 1967 in the research laboratories of Bird's, the old custard company, in Banbury, right in the heart of England. And in its very first year, it sold £2 million worth. It was a sachet of colored powder, and you tipped it into a bowl, poured in cold milk, and whisked, and something close to magic happened. What everyone remembers is that whisking, the powder and the milk turning before your eyes into a light, frothy, mousse-like pudding, doubling in the bowl, and the smell of it, strawberry or butterscotch, filling the kitchen. It was a midweek treat, never planned, and best of all, your mother often let you make it yourself, which made it taste sweeter still. By the 1970s, it had doubled the entire market for instant puddings in this country. Nobody ever told you which flavor you were having, and the whole family waited to find out. It is still made today, but it is no longer the wonder it was, no longer the thing that made a child whoop with joy. The next pudding came out of the freezer in a perfect spiral. Number 2. The Arctic Roll. A cylinder of vanilla ice cream, wrapped in a thin layer of sponge cake, with a bright line of raspberry jam running between the two, sliced into rounds, and served up as the height of pudding sophistication. Bird's Eye made it a fixture of the British freezer, and for millions of families, it was the dessert you brought out when there were guests, or on a Sunday, the frozen marvel that impressed everyone for almost no effort at all. What everyone remembers is slicing through it, the swirl of sponge and cream and jam revealed in every round, the way the sponge went slightly chewy from the cold, and nobody minded in the least. It was clever, and it was cheap, and it looked like something from a proper restaurant. At the height of its fame, the country was eating so many that, it was said, if you lined up a single week's production, the roll would stretch for miles. It faded as fancier frozen puddings crowded the freezer, and for years it all but vanished, a thing you described to disbelieving children. The next food was not a pudding at all. It was the centerpiece of every party. Number 3. The Cheese and Pineapple Hedgehog. When there was a party, out it came, and there has never been anything else quite like it. Half a melon, or a grapefruit, wrapped in foil, and stuck all over with cocktail sticks, and on the end of every stick, a cube of cheddar and a chunk of tinned pineapple, the whole thing bristling like a hedgehog in the middle of the buffet table. What everyone remembers is that it was the absolute pinnacle of British entertaining, the sign that this was an occasion, a thing your mother made and was quietly proud of. The sharp salt of the cheese and the sweet juice of the pineapple, a combination that sounds mad now and was, in fact, rather brilliant, and the sticks vanished one by one until only the bald foil hedgehog was left. Beside it stood its cousins, the sausages on sticks, the cubes of cheese, the little glasses of sherry for the grown-ups. This was how Britain celebrated in the 1970s, with a tin of pineapple and a block of cheddar and a great deal of good cheer. The next food was the taste of a country making do. Number 4. The Spam Fritter. A slice of tinned spam, that pink-pressed meat that had come over from America during the war, dipped in batter and fried until it was golden and crisp, served up with chips and a spoonful of mushy peas. What everyone remembers is that this was a school dinner legend, the thing that divided the whole playground into those who loved it and those who did not, and a cheap and filling dinner at home on the days when money was tight, and through the strikes and the shortages of that decade, money was very often tight. The batter went crunchy, the spam inside went hot and salty, and for a hungry child it was a feast. It was the honest food of a country that had come through rationing and knew how to make a little go a long way, that could take a tin off the shelf and turn it into a proper hot dinner. You rarely see it now, but a whole generation can still taste it. The next food promised a taste of somewhere far away. Number 5. The Vesta Chow Mein. Long before there was a Chinese takeaway in every town, there was a box on the shelf that promised the mysterious East, and it was made by bachelors, and it was called Vesta. Inside were sachets of dried powder, and, best of all, a little bag of hard, flat noodles that you fried yourself in hot oil and watched in amazement as they puffed and swelled and turned crispy in seconds. What everyone remembers is that this was adventure in a cardboard box, the first taste many British families ever had of food from the other side of the world, thrillingly exotic to a household raised on meat and 2 veg. It did not taste much like anything you would find in China, but it did not matter in the least. On the night your mother made a Vesta, the kitchen smelled of somewhere else, and you felt worldly and daring eating it in front of the television. Before we go on, I want to ask you something. One of these foods is not really a food in your memory. It is a feeling, a Saturday, your whole family around the table trying something new together. Tell me in the comments which one just came back to you. I read every single one. The next food was a sweet with the grandest name in the shop. Number 6. Spangles. In every sweet shop and every corner shop stood the tube of Spangles, square boiled sweets with a little dimple in each face, made by Mars since 1950, and for pocket money prices, you carried a tube home in your coat. What almost nobody under a certain age remembers is the sheer range of them, the fruit ones and the fizzy ones, and grandest of all, the Old English Spangles, licorice and mint humbug and pear drop and aniseed and treacle, in their dark and dignified packet that made a small child feel unaccountably sophisticated. What everyone remembers is that they were square, and no sweet was square, and that made them feel modern and different and yours. And then, in 1984, Mars simply stopped making them. They came back for a brief moment in the 1990s and then vanished for good, and years later, when the nation was asked which lost sweet it most wanted back, it was Spangles that topped the list, the square sweet that a whole country still mourns. The last food on this list did something no food had ever done before. It exploded. Number 7. Space Dust. It came in a little sealed sachet, a crackling powder made by the Great Chocolate Company, and it arrived to ride the wave of the space age. And when you tipped it onto your tongue, it did the most extraordinary thing. It popped. It crackled and fizzed and snapped against the roof of your mouth, tiny explosions going off one after another. A sweet you could actually hear and feel as much as taste. What everyone remembers is the wonder of it, and the wild playground rumor that went round every school in the land, that if you ate too much of it, your stomach would explode. A story that was completely untrue, and that nobody quite dared to disprove. It was the most exciting thing in the sweet shop, a little packet of pure novelty, science and sugar together, in the palm of your hand. And like so much of that decade, it had its moment and then quietly slipped away. The last food on this list was the Sunday treat kept for best. Number 8. The tin of red salmon. In the back of the cupboard, saved for a Sunday or for when visitors came, sat the tin of red salmon, and it was, in its quiet way, a luxury. On a Sunday afternoon your mother opened it, and out came the pink flesh with the little round bones you were told were good for you, and it was piled into sandwiches on thin white bread and butter, or served with salad and a dab of salad cream, and it felt like the poshest thing in the house. What everyone remembers is that, This was food kept for best, the tin that was too good for an ordinary Tuesday, brought out to show a visitor that no expense had been spared. The red was better than the pink, and everybody knew it, and a tin of red salmon in the cupboard was a small sign that things were, for the moment, all right. 8 foods. The Angel Delight whisked up pink and frothy. The Arctic roll sliced into spirals. The cheese and pineapple hedgehog bristling on the table. The Spam fritter with its golden batter. The Vesta chow mein with its puffing noodles. The spangles in their tube. The space dust crackling on your tongue. The tin of red salmon saved for best. None of them were grand. They were simply what a British family ate, the small treats and the everyday wonders of a life being lived around one table. We don't just remember the food. We remember the life around it. Which of these did your family have? Which taste just came back to you? Tell me in the comments. One food, one memory. Subscribe, because there is a great deal more of this country left to remember.